have a lot to go through because I had to finish up on some challenges that I participated in, and I was really willing to finish those off because actually in like January and February I read books that were not for the challenges at all, so I had a little bit of a tough TBR for this month. But I will just go through them kind of backwards, so I'm going to start with the one that I finished last and we'll just go through them all. Now, the first one is easy. I'm currently reading this. This is The Giver Quartet, and in May I read the first book, The Giver again, which is just one of my favorite books. It was, I think, the first dystopian novel that I ever read, and I loved it so much. So, The Giver is a movie now, and I read this to compare it with the movie, and I have to say I didn't hate the movie. It was quite okay. I actually cried 2 times while watching it, but I really prefer the book. I think it's so good. It's a dystopian, but it's not a romance, and that is something I really like. You know, there's no forced love triangle, anything like that. It's just a pure dystopian story, and I love the world building in this book. It's amazing. I always loved the world, and I think I read this for the 4th time now, and it's still good. So this is what I finished last, and I then read Gathering Blue, but I will mention that in my next wrap up. And right now I am on to The Messenger, but I haven't started that one yet. Next book I read is Romeo and Juliet. So this is a classic. It's by William Shakespeare. It's really short, it's a play. I really like plays, but I know a lot of people just don't like them for some reason. I read it in German though. I have read it in German and in English, and I just felt like I wanted to reread it, and tonight I want to watch the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio because, you know, I can and I love him. So I don't know what I would give this book star-wise, maybe 4. It's kind of hard to understand, and I feel like the translation that I have is a little bit odd, but in general, obviously everyone knows the story of Romeo and Juliet, and it's just such a staple, and I think everyone should read this. The next book I have here is Marquis de Sade, Juliet. This is the companion novel to Justine, which I read 2 years ago, and I tried to read that one 2 years ago as well, but I stopped about 40 pages before I was done with the book or something like that, and then I just had a very long time to put it back up again. So now I finally finished it, and I have to say, when I read it, first I was like, why did you ever stop? And when I got to the middle I was like, oh, I totally see why. So I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. It starts off really nicely. It reminds me a lot of Justine, and it's a very erotic novel, so if you're not into explicit, really horrible sex scenes, you probably won't enjoy this. But then after the first couple of pages, it gets way more philosophical and less stuff happens, and it gets really boring at the end, and I feel like it lost a lot of its potential. Obviously this was written in the 18th century, I think, so it has been a long time, and a lot of the thoughts that de Sade had probably don't work out that well anymore, and I just felt like it got really boring from the middle onwards. So if you're interested in Marquis de Sade, I would definitely recommend reading Justine first, because it's much better. I much more enjoyed that one. Then I read this one. This is The Pilot, or Der Lotse in German, and this is by James Fenimore Cooper. This was also written in the 19th century, and this is more like a children's book, but not really. The language is really difficult to understand, and I had a lot of issues with this book. So I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. I remembered that I really liked it as a child, but I don't see why anymore. So I love the edition of this, which is not made anymore. It's the, what was it called? GDR edition, like the German Democratic Republic, I guess. Oh gosh, I'm so bad at this. But yeah, I love the kind of design of the book, and it has images as well, with some of the things that happen and some words that are connected to nautical stuff, which I have no idea of. So this is about a pilot during the Independence War of the United States of America. He's British, and the Americans kind of get him because he rebels against the British, and he helps them as a pilot on their ship. But then they go back to the British Islands because there's the 2 love interests of the 2 main characters that are on this ship, and they want to rescue them and marry them. And so this is all about how they get there and try to rescue them, and there's a lot of trouble, blah blah blah. A lot of adventure maybe. But I felt like there's stuff missing in between the chapters, like one moment they're here and then they're there, but you have no idea how they got there. I don't know, I just got really confused with that. And then again, I couldn't read a lot of it at once. I only could read like 1 or 2 chapters, and then I had to put it away because, I don't know, it just didn't keep my interest. And I had so many issues with this book, which is really disappointing because I remember liking it a lot, and I don't know how I did that, because maybe when I was a child I just didn't mind the holes in the storyline, I don't know. Then I have this. This is an Hungarian author. He's called Sándor Márai. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Hungarian is just not a language that I'm fluent in. In German it is called Die Glut. I have no idea what it is in English, but maybe I will put it somewhere so you can see it. This was a very interesting book. It's about 2 friends. They have been friends in their childhood and like early adult time, but then they have a huge fight basically, and one runs off, and after 40 years he comes back and they have this huge discussion about what happened, but basically it's just one man telling his point of view the whole time, and the other one is just silent and listens to him. So it's more like a monologue, is that what you say? But it's just really interesting. It's very well written. I really enjoyed it. And it's quite a short book. It's like, what, 200 pages, and very well written. So I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars because it is so different and it's not like anything I've read before. But it was very interesting. It has a little bit of a historical touch, and then in the end it was kind of open. I don't know. Not like open, but in the end they didn't even discuss anything, you could say. I don't know, it was just really interesting. I really enjoyed it, and if you can find it somewhere for cheap, I would definitely recommend you get it and just look into it, because it's really something different from what you probably read right now. Okay, the next one is this one. This is Hermann Hesse, Steppenwolf. This was a reread as well. I read this when I did like my final years at school, and I loved it so much. I still love the first part of it. I think the ending is really weird, and I probably just don't understand it because, you know, my mind's so small. So I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars again, just because, as I said, I just don't understand the end, and it's kind of weird, and I just pretty much prefer the first bit, but there's just so many beautiful quotes in here, and when I read this for the first time I marked them, and I still enjoyed them a lot, like the marked parts. I just think Hermann Hesse was a very, very great author, but he's not easily understood. So I haven't read too much of his other works, but I really, really like the Steppenwolf. And yeah, I watched the movie as well, and don't do it. Just never watch that movie. It's from the 70s and it's so horrible. It's like one of those movies that you have to watch in school and it's just so bad that you can't even look at it. Don't get me started. But the book is good, especially the first bit. Very interesting. I hear weird noises all day. It's weird. I don't know. Next book, Jane Austen, Persuasion. A book that I loved. I think this is my favorite Jane Austen novel so far. I've read Northanger Abbey and Emma, and now this one. And this one I like best. It's her last novel, and it's about Anne Elliot, who fell in love with a young soldier, but her parents talk her out of it, and after years and years she meets him again, and I just felt so connected to Anne. She's a very calm and very nice character, and in her way of living she's the complete opposite to all the other female characters in the book, which makes her just so much more lovable. And I don't know, I just, you know, when I read this I tried to imagine what it would be like to meet my very first boyfriend again, which would be very weird as well, and a lot of things that happen, a lot of the feelings I could totally understand. I just really felt this book and I loved it. I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Let me look. Yep, I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. And I can't wait to read another Jane Austen. Every time I finish a good Jane Austen book, I just don't want to read anything else ever again. I really love her style of writing, of telling the stories, and I don't know, this just was my favorite so far. I know that I will love Pride and Prejudice as well. I have Mansfield Park to read, and then Sense and Sensibility as well. So I will definitely read those soon, but for now I had all the challenge books to read, and this almost got me in a huge reading slump, which was not good at all. Next book! This one. This is Markus Heitz, Die Zwerge. I think this is a German book and I don't think it was translated. I did not like this too much. It's very lengthy, as you can tell, a lot of pages. Nothing really happens. There's so much unnecessary stuff in this book that got me so bored and annoyed, and I think I like the main storyline, but there's just so much stuff around it that you can't really enjoy it. So that got me really angry. So I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars again. I like the main character. It's a dwarf called Tungil, something like that. And he is the one to save the world, obviously, but he's a dwarf that didn't grow up with other dwarfs, but with a magician, because he was kind of lost as a child. And so he doesn't have the respect of the other dwarfs at first, and he has to work his way to it, and then he has really good friends, twins, also dwarfs, and they help him, and they're really adorable. I really like those. I think, yeah, some of the characters are very good. Then the evil person, he's really evil and disgusting. You really hate him, which is good as well. But as I said, I liked the storyline, but there was just so much crap around it that I just couldn't stand. That was unnecessary, just dragged and I don't know, that was kind of disappointing. But I read this one before and I had stopped somewhere in the middle because I just didn't like that. So this time I pushed my way through it and I read it, and I don't know. Next book, this one's a good one again. Before I Go to Sleep by S.J. Watson, and this is a movie now as well with Nicole Kidman, Colin Firth, and someone that I can't remember anymore. So this is a thriller and I love reading thrillers. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. It tells the story of, I don't know her name anymore, Christine. Christine wakes up every morning and doesn't have a memory, and she has to be reminded of her life every morning, but then she tries to write a diary, and with that she starts discovering the truth why she can't remember anything anymore. So it's all about her getting her life back, kind of. So really liked this book. It was really interesting, really fun. I think the ending was a little bit weird, a little bit too forced maybe, but the rest of the book was really nice. I felt really terrified because of the whole scenario. It really got to me, to be honest. And yeah, I just really like this book. I think it's really cool. It's not too big. I love the floppy paperback. I was really happy to find that. Yeah, it was a really nice book, and if you're into spoilers, I would really recommend it. I watched the movie as well because I love Nicole Kidman and Colin Firth, but I did not like the movie too much, I have to be honest. It just wasn't as good as the book. Nowhere near as good as the book. So that was kind of disappointing, but other than that, the book is really great and I would really recommend it if you're into that genre. Now I have 3 little books left. You all know these. These are the Harry Potter like little additional books that J.K. Rowling wrote. The Tales of Beedle the Bard, I think it's called. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I just try to remember the English names, and the Quidditch one, Quidditch Through the Ages. So I read all of these because I wanted to for a long time, and they matched my challenges. I love this one best. This book is just gorgeous. I got the hardcover of it because the book underneath the cover is what is really stunning and gorgeous. I think, I love this. It's so pretty. And then I also really like the tales that it tells. And this is just my favorite. And I stained it with something, obviously. But I love this book so much. And I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars. Then I really like this one as well, about the beasts, because you have like little comments written by Ron and Harry, and they just made it a little bit more interesting because these are meant to be like studying books. I don't know what the word for it is, but they're written a little bit boringly, but you know, they're not made to sit down and read them all the way through, I guess. And you know, you have all these beasts in here, and when you read just right through them, you get them mixed up instantly. But I just like the little comments at the sides, and it's just really cute. So I think I gave this one like 4 out of 5 stars, and then this one was 3 out of 5 stars because I'm not really interested in Quidditch, and I enjoyed the writing style and everything, but there's just nothing too interesting in this book. So I enjoyed this one the least, and if you just want to get one of these 3, I would definitely get the Tales of Beedle the Bard, because they're the most important in the Harry Potter books as well. So these would be all the books, and I hope you're not completely bored now. I'm so sorry that I had so many this month, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye!